We've seen that, I believe, during this global pandemic. How did it happen? Why weren't we ahead of it? Not just for a retrospective, but also prospectively. If you don't understand how it happened last time, and you don't learn the lessons of what happened last time, then you will repeat them, right? And there's a good chance that this virus comes back. They talk about a second wave. They talk about a mutation. And if it's not this virus, another public health issue. And I think we have to learn from this, and unfortunately learn from it as we're going through it, because we may not have the luxury of time. If they're right on the speculation about a second wave in the fall or the winter, well, we have to start getting ready now. And it is shocking to me that so many months, so many weeks, we talked about the virus was coming from China, from China, from China, from China. Now it turns out the virus didn't come to the East Coast from China. It came from Europe. And all those talking heads, that is a relatively new fact. When you then look back at the timeline of what was going on, I think it's informative. We were talking about the virus in China last year, the end of last year, November and December. We had the first case in the state of Washington, January 21. We then had the China travel ban by the president on February 2nd, which was a right move in retrospect. 6 weeks later, you have the travel ban from Europe, and then we still have John F. Kennedy Airport open in New York as what's called the quote-unquote funnel airports. There are about 4 airports in the nation that were left open for flights coming from China and Europe. And John F. Kennedy Airport, which is our main international airport, was one of them. When you look back, November to April is a long period of time. And what happened, apparently, is the virus got on a plane from China. Someone who was infected got on a plane and went to Europe, and then from Europe, the virus mutated in Europe and then flew to New York City, Newark Airport, flew to places on the East Coast, flew to Chicago. And you can see why, right? The virus wasn't going to stay in China and wait for us to deal with it in China. Everybody talks about how mobile people are and global interconnections, et cetera. And that's what happened. But nobody was saying, beware of people coming from Europe. We weren't testing people coming from Europe. We weren't telling anyone at the time, if you have a European visitor or a European guest, make sure they get tested. They walked right through the airport. Well, I understand what happened in retrospect, but we have to make sure it doesn't happen again. From December to March, 3 million Europeans came through our airports. You wonder why we have such a high infection rate. You put 3 million Europeans coming into this market undetected. You don't tell anyone. There's no precautions. There's no testing. And then you let people circulate in this dense environment. You're going to have the virus spread. And that's exactly what happened. And many of those people didn't stay in New York. They just landed at JFK, connected to another flight, and flew to a city in the United States. That's what happened. Flights from China proportionately go to the west coast of the United States. But the European flights, they come to the east coast. 3 million Europeans is a lot of people. And again, it was months of people coming and people circulating before we were really put on notice.